everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be starting the first vlog for our very first pick for the Lazy Book Club. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure that you go check out the first video. I will link it down below. Make sure to watch that. It really just explains like, hey, these are the picks for this month and next month. Next month has already been picked, aka May. I know this is releasing in May, but I wanted to give people plenty of time to read the first book and get it since it was more on the short notice compared to what the other picks are going to be. But yeah, if you don't want to go back and watch that video, basically this is a non-live read as you can, as you're able to kind of book club format. Basically, it's going to be a vlog buddy read. I thought it would be really fun to have all of my subscribers be able to vote on a book that I read for a specific month, and then that allows them to get the book, to order it, or to get it off of your Libby or from your library, and that way we can all read the book in the same month. And then it's a full spoiler vlog as I'm reading it. So if you have not read The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, this is our April pick. If you have not read this, you gotta go. Unless you just want to know what happened in this book, because this is going to be a full spoiler, full going through the book. It's some of the stuff is not going to make that much sense if you have not read it, because I reference points in the book as we go along. So that's kind of how this book club buddy read thing is kind of going to work. Like, I reference chapters, I reference times that things are happening, what's moving forward, the plot, stuff like that. So it's going to be a better experience if you have read it. It's probably fine if you haven't, if you just want to know the end, because there will be full end spoilers and there will be a little bit of a discussion and my thoughts about it at the end, as well as some questions at the end that I'm going to pose to people who are watching this and want to put their thoughts in the comments down below, because I would love to hear the thoughts about this book and future books that we're reading. So like I said, this is called the Lazy Book Club because you can come back and watch this whenever you want. So if you had no idea that I was doing this and you want to do this, you want to read the book before you watch this, you can go and read it and then come back and watch this vlog. Works the same. So you can read on your own time. It's no rush, whatever. So that's kind of the idea behind this. And my subscribers voted for The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I was gonna say I already showed it. And this is what I'm going to be reading in this vlog. If you didn't know, next month is already picked. You can go check out that video, or I'll just tell you right now, it is A House with Good Bones. Actually, I was supposed to read it in April, but I ended up not reading it because I wanted to like remember it more for the end of May. So I probably will not be reading it until the end of May. Kind of like this one. This one I did not get to until the end of April, but I feel like it makes it better so that if I get comments about it, etc., I'm going to remember what happened. Because that's the problem with this format is someone may read this like 4 months from now and comment on it and be like, oh, this is my answers to the questions. This is what I thought about it while I was reading it. And I'm going to be like, But at the same time, I hope everyone does that. So whether you are watching the second this comes out, whether you're watching a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you comment and subscribe so that you can join this lovely book community and this book club. So I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get right into talking about the book. And yeah, I'm going to switch to my future self talking about what's going on in this book. I have officially read the first chapter while procrastinating on a different book that I'm actually going to put down for now because it is significantly longer than The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. So I have officially read the first chapter though, and it is way different than I thought it was gonna be. It's definitely much more flowery writing and much more like prosy kind of, I feel like. Like, I'm a little nervous it's gonna go purple prose, which if you don't know, it's just very flowery writing. At least that's my understanding of it. If it's not, let me know. But I tend to not like that type of writing, so I'm very concerned, but at the same time I'm also very intrigued because like it's already weirder than I was expecting. So I'm very interested because I was kind of expecting it to be in the perspective of the whole book be the woman, but it opened up in the perspective of the guy I think she marries. So I'm like, this is different. This is definitely different than I was expecting. So that's kind of my initial update for you guys. Very different than I was expecting. I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen next, where it's going, if it's gonna be weird the whole book. But yeah, interested, very interested. So I'm gonna go read that might have another update tonight or tomorrow. I don't know yet, but we're gonna play it by ear, see how much I get like interested and invested in the book and how much I want to read. So that's the update. See you in the next one. You might hear my husband in the background. He's playing his own game, so sorry if you hear him yelling, but I literally read like half a page more from the first chapter, and I'm like, what is happening? What is already happening? So she just talked about, or see, I'm so used to reading books with female protagonists that I'm already like, oh, she did this. No, he, main character, he. I don't think we know his name. Do we know his name? It's just calling him the bridegroom. So I guess the bridegroom, he just talked about how he had a little brother, but then he disappeared suddenly one day and asked his mom, and the mom's like, what are you talking about? And like, the notches on the door frames are gone. They were never there. The toys are all gone. The clothes are all gone. So I'm like, what is happening already? It's been like 3 pages in this book, and I'm already like, what is the significance of all of this stuff? Because obviously there's going to be some sort of importance, obviously, like this. Like, does he hallucinate stuff? Like, is that what's going on? Does memory loss, or like, are people messing with him? I don't know. Is he real? Is he real? So I'm just like, I'm already like, I don't know what I'm doing. I already feel like this book is driving me crazy, and it's been, how many pages am I in? 14 pages. So let's continue. Okay. It's only like a half an hour later. I'm on page like 35. The bridegroom just found a piece of hair with like a tooth attached to it. I've got some theories already, and I wanted to like talk through them before I got any further in the book and like some stuff got disproved or whatever. So at this point, I would love to hear what your theories started to be about what exactly is going on. Also, I'm in bed like super cozied up because that's my favorite way to read. And the Katie Colson has a reading sprints right now on her Patreon, so having a great time. And my husband's about to order some Chick-fil-A, so I'm just living my best life right now, and I'm kind of obsessed with this book. So I'm kind of thinking that this may be some like portal magic stuff going on. Maybe it's just because I just have been reading like Every Heart a Doorway and Sean McGuire books, the Wayward Children series, but it feels like portal magic. It feels like she's got a twin, but it feels like she's not in the right place. Like, he's in the right timeline, but his brother got switched somewhere else, or the other way around. I don't know. They both could be displaced in time, and she's trying to get back to her sister in her real timeline. So it feels kind of portal magic-y, and then it feels also like potentially I just read the Hollow House, the Hollow House, something like that, and that had some portal switching, like doppelganger stuff going on, and switching like places where you're at. So she could also be some sort of creature that's taken over a body, and she's like not the actual person or something like that. I don't know. I definitely am liking the portal magic or sucked through into another universe kind of thing right now, and that she's trying to get back to her sister, or she's trying to get her sister back. And he either got sucked through and he's somewhere else, and he's trying to get back to his brother. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then part of me also thinks that she's just not real, and he's hallucinating literally everything. But I don't know. Like, there's so many ways that this could go. So I wanted to jump in very quickly and kind of put some theories out there. This is wild. This book is so ethereal. And like, there's something very like, I feel like I'm reading through almost like a lens, like a haze. The last book that I read similar to that feeling was when I read The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. There was definitely like, I felt like I was in this otherworldly haze kind of thing going on. And this is giving me that vibe, but with a Alone in the Ether writing style. So it's very interesting. I loved Alone with You in the Ether, so that's working for me. And I really like The Hollow Places with how weird it was and stuff, so that's also working for me. So it's just, there's a lot going on. Which is why I keep updating every 10 pages, but I'm gonna try and stop doing that. I'll update you the next time like something big happens, or if my theories change or something like that. But I'm having a time. I hope you guys so far, up to 32 pages, have been enjoying this. Okay, so it is the next morning, and I am currently listening to reading sprints, or I guess listening to reading sprints, doing reading sprints. Covers with Cassidy is hosting a sprint for Escape the Readathon, which seems like a really cool readathon that I'm participating in this month. But anyway, I am just about to start chapter 9, so I'm on about page 68, and it's just, I feel like this book is constantly changing because now I feel like my idea behind portal magic is kind of solidifying more, while like parallel universes, I don't think that's it anymore. Changelings, I don't think that's it anymore. Doppelgangers, no, etc. Because where I've stopped in the book, we just finally had the first point of view of Azure, who now we know was Indigo's friend when they were kids and has gone missing. And it seems like Azure was sent to Indigo and Azure were always trying to find like the other world, and it seems like they possibly found it and only Indigo returned, and it seems like Indigo is either trying to get back or potentially hiding the fact that she had something to do with Azure's disappearance, which is what I'm curious about. So I read that chapter, which was interesting, and then I read the chapter after, which went back to the bridegroom and his thoughts about talking to Hippolyta, because Hippolyta kind of tells the story and asks him to find Azure and figure out where she is and bring her back. And we're kind of have a little bit of the brother stuff in there. And I'm torn between two things with the brother, because we keep getting like hints about some abusive situations going on in the book, which I wasn't expecting. So I hope no one has triggers for that, because I had no idea. But it seems like potentially our bridegroom's father was abusive, and it seems that Azure's stepfather is abusive and potentially an absolute creep. And yeah, that's it's still pretty vague. So now I'm wondering if the bridegroom, his brother, was killed by the dad, and that's why the mom made him disappear, because Hippolyta remembers Azure going missing, but the mom didn't even mention it at all. So I don't know. That's why I'm like more suspicious that something else happened to the brother and he's kind of grasping at straws, and he's gonna find out at the end that he wished his brother had been taken, but his brother's actually been dead the whole time. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. But again, I'm still so early in this book, but there's just like so much stuff happening. There's so much stuff happening. Very much enjoying my time, and I'm really curious. I really want to know if I'm right. Like I really want to be like deeper into the book to know what's going on, because it's still so bizarre what's happening right now. The more I read this book, the more I like it. I really do like it. But the worse feeling I'm getting, I have a very bad feeling that none of it is actually supernatural. And it's just like one of those situations of children's imaginations, etc. And we're gonna find out that Azure is dead. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm about to start chapter 13, I'm at page 96. And we just are going through more of Azure's point of view. And that's definitely the point of view that's kind of taking the forefront now. The bridegroom kind of just like jumps in every once in a while to add some more stuff about his brother, etc. But the part that we just read about was Azure and Indigo basically now have their own like other world that Toddy made for them. And I'm sitting here going, oh no. And there's a very cryptic part where it's basically talking about how they're going to live there forever. And I have a very, very bad feeling that there was an accident or Indigo pushed her or something, and Azure gets hurt and actually dies in the other world. And the book is going to end with us finding her bones. Like seems like he's looking for a person now, because Hyacinth asked our bridegroom to look for Azure, but I have a feeling that we're gonna find bones in the other world, and Indigo's secret is that death. So I'm just like, this is gonna be a very sad book. So that's kind of what I've adjusted to, because it's, all these hints and stuff are definitely reminding me of a book that I've read already. I don't want to say the name of it because I feel like it kind of ruins the end, even though you know the end. Well, since I don't know the end, the vibes that I'm getting from this is an Aiden Thomas book. What is it? The Never Lost Woods, the Never whatever. It's the Peter Pan retelling, but like true crime kind of thing. And I'm definitely getting some of those types of vibes from that book. But I like the writing in this one a lot better. I did not love Lost in the I think it's Lost in the Neverwoods. Neverwoods Lost. Most beautiful cover I've ever seen, which is why I haven't gotten rid of it. I still have it because it's just so pretty. I'm just getting some vibes from that. Like Azure's, the way that Azure's chapters are written, I feel like are significantly different. The Bridegroom chapters are very like flowing and beautiful and impactful, and there's something very ethereal about them. While reading Azure's chapters, there's something about this like innocence in the chapters, this otherworldliness, but in like a childlike imagination way, while the Bridegroom's is more like an ethereal adult kind of thing. So it's very interesting. I don't know how the author managed to write two points of view so differently. Like, it feels like almost two different authors writing the points of view. Very impressed with that. Normally I feel like I wouldn't like that, but it's working so well for this book. It's almost like reading two different books that were combined, which works really, really well with this kind of atmosphere going on. So like I said, I am enjoying it. Still don't know exactly what's going on, but my suspicions are there's nothing actually supernatural, and it's gonna be a accident or something else happened to Azure. And I don't know about the brother though. The brother side of it still confuses me, but I have a feeling the dad killed him, and this book is almost like a metaphor for like escaping grief and trying to use childlike innocence to escape back to that like magical world that you were able to live in as a kid, because both of them seem to have a tragedy that occurred as children. So that's why I'm like, okay, so maybe this is all about childhood escapism, etc. So very interesting. I'm going to continue, still in reading sprints, having a great time. I'm very unnerved though, very unnerved. But yeah, still having a really good time. I really wanted to finish this last night, if you couldn't tell. It is the next morning. I am exhausted. I stayed up really late, but I also am up now early. It's like 7:30, which is super early for me. But I really wanted to get up and finish this book and then probably go back and take a nap. But I am so tired. I look horrible. Whatever. I need to finish this book. And I am just so curious what's going to happen. But I really wanted to update before I finished the book. And it was like midnight last night when I was about to move into like the last 100 pages. But it feels like there's been like a tone shift in the book. So I really wanted to update, but it was pitch black in the house and my husband was asleep. So that was not happening. So very quickly, let's see, what page am I on? I am about to start chapter 21, which is page 176. So I think I have like about 110 pages left, and there's definitely been a change, a shift in the book of I still don't really know what's going on exactly, but you definitely have a better idea of kind of what you're dealing with. And I'm still not 100% convinced of this, but as of right now, Indigo is a straight up monster. I mean, she is a psychopath. Gets what she wants, brat, convinces everybody else that she's important, and she basically is just this horrible person. Horrible person. In Azure's timeline, what just happened is she just ruined the Paris trip. That happened a couple chapters ago, and what just happened is while Indigo was away, Azure started up a relationship with Lyric, and Indigo was convinced that Lyric wanted both of them because they're one person, and she basically came home and slept with Lyric in a way that Azure would find them. So some of it is still like weirdly suspicious. I don't know what it is. It feels like the dialogue makes it seem like there's two people, but for some reason, I keep thinking she is the same person. I keep thinking Indigo and Azure are the same person. Like, my brain will not let that go. It will not let go the idea that it's almost like split personality disorder, which I don't love mental health being the surprise, but I feel like this is done so well that I feel like I would be okay with it still. I don't love it. I don't love it. But it's very interesting if that is the twist. I hope it's not. Seems like the bridegroom is more of almost like our narrator who's guiding us through this, but that has switched tonal shift as well, because it seems like he just heard Indigo's like dark side almost. Part of me almost thinks like he's been the part where she's like nice to him is Azure, and then the part where she's like nasty and like it's almost like she flips this switch in her brain that she just like turns crazy, and all this like don't look at me kind of stuff is Indigo. Again, that's if it's split personality. If it's not 100% Indigo killed Azure and the ghost is like haunting the house because the house wouldn't let go of Azure, and then the bridegroom is slowly piecing together like what happened, like what kind of psycho Indigo actually is, and the rest of the family already knows like she's a psychopath. So I don't know. I'm kind of moving away from the portal magic stuff now that we're getting deeper into the book. The deeper I get into the book, again, I kind of already said it, like the childlike wonder of the other world, it definitely feels more this is going to be a realistic ending. Like, the most of the book was almost like a magical realism, but it's going to turn out to be, having been in like Indigo and Azure's heads, like there was never any magical other world, it's just a forest, etc. I don't know 100% if that's true, but it definitely seems like we're going more real route. Like, this is really happening. But I'm just like, I'm so confused. And I don't know what's about to happen because it definitely feels like something is about to happen. We just heard Indigo be a psycho and say that she killed Catskins. The bridegroom, we found out that Catskins is what Indigo would call Azure, but she doesn't like it. I don't know if I missed why she doesn't like that nickname, but I don't think they've revealed to us why she doesn't like that name. And then, yeah, why she said, I killed you, why aren't you dead yet? So that's what I'm kind of like, split personality, or is it a haunting? Or did she escape or something? Like, did the girl, I don't know, because it seems like they're talking to the house, but it's possible they're talking to Azure, and that's what Toddy was trying to get the bridegroom to understand and see if he would listen to like the voice, which is Azure telling him stuff. I don't know though. Like I said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of mystery, and I'm really enjoying that. What did I just read? So yeah, I finished this and I have so many questions about that ending. So okay, let's go over the things that I feel like are concrete very quickly, because there's some things that are very, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So first, let's talk about the brother. Easiest thing to get over with. I wasn't expecting the way he died, which makes it so much more tragic, because obviously, yeah, the dad was abusive, but the dad didn't kill him. An accident killed the brother by not having his inhaler. That is so much worse. I don't know why, but like anytime there's like an accidental death, it just feels so much worse because it could have been prevented some way. It's so sad. So his backstory is just, oh my gosh, it's so depressing. The bridegroom just has, oof, yeah, no kidding, his brain like tried to protect him. And I love that it was wrapped up in the knowledge of Indigo / Azure and what happened to them. I love that once that spell was broken, it kind of opened up his own memory. So I feel like this story is very interesting because it turns out to basically be a story about two people dealing with grief and locking away the part of themselves that holds that kind of grief. So that's kind of where we move into the more abstract things that are happening. First of all, I love the end that they ended up staying together. I think that was a very different way than what I thought this was going to end. I was also very surprised. I toyed with the idea, but I kind of knocked it down, and then it turned out to be it. I toyed with the idea that it was actually Azure that he was married to, but the personality differences between what Azure was like in the past and what she was like with the husband, I just couldn't reconcile the two until they kind of explained like what that kind of meant. So like I said, it felt like Azure locked herself away when she accidentally killed Indigo and became Indigo, like took on her personality. And Indigo was so obsessed with making Azure exactly like her that it wasn't that hard to slip into this other personality and this other look. And plus, no one ever saw them separate from each other. They hid themselves away so much. The only person who had recognized them was Toddy. And that is, okay, we'll get to that in a second because that was a little confused about that part. So basically, recapping the end, you find out that Indigo had planned to kill Azure, was obsessed with the idea of this immortal life and becoming one with the other world, etc. It felt like there was a little bit of mental illness there. It felt potentially psychopathic tendencies, potentially some not dealing with PTSD from her parents' death and them dying. I really thought that the parents' death was going to come back in this and it was going to be like her that did it. But I really think she was just dealing with the ramifications of losing her parents so young and not being able to handle the fact that she was left by her parents, because she becomes obsessed with not being left by Azure. And then I'm also curious if she was so cruel to Toddy because Toddy showed so much favoritism to Azure, and potentially that Toddy was trying to be her parents and she was taking out the brunt of her anger against that person that signified like her parents really are dead and they're not coming back. So I am curious if that's like where the personality came from. Obviously, there's no magic in this. I'm really glad they did that. I'm really glad they did that because it feels like just this giant metaphor for mental illness, trauma, dealing with all these things that humans sometimes just have to cope with somehow. And so it felt like Indigo and Azure created this other world to escape their realities. Indigo's reality of being this spoiled brat kind of person, but didn't have her parents. Like, it doesn't matter how spoiled, how bratty you are, how awful you are, the impact of losing your parents, it affects everybody. So her tragedy of losing her parents at such a young age is definitely something she was obviously trying to escape from. It wasn't obvious, but I feel like with her desperation to keep Azure, that's kind of where you can kind of bring that back to. And then obviously Azure was trying to escape her horrible home life with her I keep saying father-in-law, stepfather. Her stepfather Jupiter, who is an absolute creep, horrible person, and her mother, who, we'll get to the mother too, I have some stuff to say about the mom, and her mother, who is trapped in this terrible relationship but takes it out basically on her daughter. So yeah, they created this other world, and at the end it is very clear that it never existed. It's just this place that they were able to escape from, and that's where the magic is. And when Indigo died, it kind of broke that child innocence in Azure, and obviously in Indigo because she died. But in Azure, it's like it fractured that childlike innocence that she was trying to keep and hide in the other world. And that's why I feel like when she went back to the house no longer was this like thing that actually had feelings anymore. It was dormant. And I feel like that's because she broke that innocence that she had, and it started to come back because they kind of talked a little bit about how they felt the house coming alive when the bridegroom was there. He kind of brought out the best in her, brought back this feeling of being loved, etc., that had been torn away from her, and that's why the house started to kind of come back to life. That's how I got it. That's how I saw it. I would love to hear what you guys thought about the house and whether it was actually magical or just like a metaphor for childlike innocence or just feeling loved, because I'm very torn on the house. The house is the one little piece that's like, was it magic or was it not? Or was it like the only magic? I don't know. That's that little piece right there. I really am curious about that piece and what people think about that. So if you read it, you know that eventually Indigo, like I said, tries to kill Azure because Azure is trying to leave. So Azure is actually going to be leaving. She has planned to take a bus ticket and she's going to get out. She has always wanted to live in the other world, and the magic around Indigo kind of faded for her, and the magic of the real world was pulling her towards it. And she understood that the other world would still be there for her whenever she decided to come back. Of course, Indigo is one step ahead of her and takes her into the other world, pulls out a hunting knife, and is going to kill her, but Azure gets the upper hand and accidentally kind of pushes her. I was a little confused about exactly how she died, but it seems like she pushes her over the side of like a building or something, or I don't know what it is, and then drags her body back up, puts it in the enshrined tomb that Indigo had built for them, and becomes a version, this weird mixed version of herself in Indigo. So that kind of comes into like the multi-personality thing going on, but it's not exactly that. It does seem like Azure loved Indigo so much she could not handle the idea that she died. So part of her became Indigo. And because they looked so similar, they had fashioned themselves after each other, no one looked twice. And again, no one really knew what they looked like because they hid away from each other. And so Azure was very easily able to slip into the personality and the life of Indigo. So I feel like that was pretty cut and dry. It was a bit funny that everybody thought it was her. And I'm curious if Toddy, so one of the big parts is when she comes back to the house, she goes to talk to Toddy because Toddy warned her that she should have run earlier. So Toddy knew that Indigo was basically going to kill her and kind of like tried to warn her, but also, you could have done a better job. Like, you knew what was going on. I think that, because there is a little bit of ambiguity, Indigo obviously put bleach or acid or something on Toddy's face, and I'm really curious if it's because Toddy saw the grave in the other world. Oh, she had a piece of paper. I bet it was like a contractor, like, invoice or whatever, and it said coffin on it or something similar to it. And Toddy was like, what's going on, and tried to talk to her about it, and she had seen too much, so Indigo blinded her and caused her to lose lucidity, etc. So that's kind of my theory about that. Again, curious what you guys think about that. That's kind of one of my questions as well. Like, what do you think Toddy saw that caused Indigo to blind her? Or if you think Indigo did. Like, I feel like it's pretty obvious Indigo did, but you never know. There could be other theories. For a while I thought that the house was doing some stuff, but again, I like the metaphor for grief and love, etc. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit to the mom. Azure's mom is such a gray area in this book because she is a mess. She's a mess. So she's definitely one of those people who is easily manipulated by others. She even admits to it. She says that our curse in life is to be trapped in situations, and in my case it was love, and she tries to help. She tries in her own way to get Azure out of the situation, because the mom can clearly see Azure is trapped in this like love with Indigo, and it's toxic. You can just tell it is just toxic, but the mom can't say anything because she's dealing with the same thing. Azure would never believe a word that comes out of her mouth. She would just think that the mom wants to ruin her life, basically, because sometimes it felt that way. So the mom is such a difficult subject because she turned on her daughter. When it worked for her, she was kind to her daughter. When it worked for her, she was cruel to her. So throughout the book, she would switch from being this loving mother, never too loving, just like there, to this horrible woman who basically was accusing her daughter of seducing her husband, which is messed up. It is messed up. But part of me is at the same time is like, I don't know. I don't know if she was doing that to protect Azure by being so aggressive to push her out. It was to protect her from Jupiter, because at the very end, she freaks out. She thinks that Jupiter and Azure did something and leaves with Jupiter when she was supposed to be leaving with Azure, because the Indigo orchestrated that whole thing. That was terrible. That whole section was so horrible. The fact that Indigo literally posed her naked, knew Jupiter was coming home, and took pictures and showed the mom. That's insane. Or I guess she didn't actually show the mom just believed it. So, oh my gosh. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And then the mom immediately turns on Azure. But here's my next question. Did she? Like, you shouldn't speak to her that way. You should have stuck up for her, etc. But was her taking Jupiter away and her constantly being terrible to Azure on purpose to get her away from Jupiter because she knew what Jupiter was? I'm so torn on that, whether it was just like her immediate reaction and she actually being jealous of her daughter, or her trying to protect her by sending her away. Because this whole time she had been saving up money for her daughter to get away from this lifestyle that she has. And then even when she was nasty to her daughter and left for the final time, she still sent her the bank account with the information and all that money in it that she could have taken herself. And obviously there's a non-selfish part of her that cares about her daughter. So that's why I'm so torn about the mom. I'm so torn about the mom because I don't know if she was just this evil character, I guess not evil, but a gray character who was so trapped in the situation that she took it out on her daughter, or was she really protecting her the whole time in the worst way, but it worked. It traumatized poor Azure, but it worked at the same time. I don't know. So that's definitely a question I have for you guys, what you think, because I really don't know. I would hope the mom was doing it for love of her daughter, but it was so aggressive sometimes. It was so bad sometimes. And I think last I want to talk about Toddy not recognizing her. That part was probably the saddest part for me in this book because Toddy basically became her mother, but it was definitely hinted at throughout the book that Azure knew that Toddy loved Indigo more than her because it's her own flesh and blood, it's her family, she has to love her, etc. So even though it felt like Toddy loved Azure more, Azure always felt like Toddy loved Indigo more and that she was just kind of like the replacement. And it kind of came to a head at the end when Azure comes back and Toddy always recognized her. Toddy always recognized her before, and suddenly doesn't recognize her when Azure comes to her and she's saying, it's okay, I forgive you, Indigo, for what you've done. You're my flesh and blood. I won't say anything because I need to protect you. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I think, question, was that real? Did Toddy really not recognize her? I have such a hard time believing that she didn't actually recognize her. I don't know. Like, that's, again, another question. Did she actually recognize her and try to get her away from the house, get her away from all this to keep her safe? Like, kind of like what possibly the mom was doing? Or did she really not recognize her and think she's been Indigo this whole time? Because, I mean, it does seem like that way because, but what if the reason why she poked at the bridegroom so much is that she knew it was Azure and she kept asking, find her, and that way she knew she was pointing the bridegroom to Indigo to show that it was really Azure the whole time. See, this is why I need you guys to tell me what you guys think. So that's the other question. Do you think Toddy recognized her and kind of was trying to push her away and then trying to help the bridegroom figure out it's Azure and figure out where Indigo was kept? Or did Toddy really not recognize her? I'm curious why she wouldn't recognize her when she always recognized her before. Is it because maybe when she was digging up dirt, maybe she went by like smell a lot? I don't know. Maybe she went by smell a lot and then like she smelled like Indigo because when she was burying her she was in like close proximity. I don't know, because even the hair doesn't make sense. She cut all her hair off and Toddy knew she cut her hair off, so all she needed to do is feel her hair and know. So I don't know. I feel like I'm leaning towards Toddy knew, but didn't want to say anything and basically cast her out so that she could be away from the house. Because they did talk about how that house kind of trapped people there. So I am curious if Toddy did that on purpose and hurt her on purpose to send her out into the world so she would actually live. But I don't know. There's so much. Oh, and then I guess actually the last thing is the personality switches. They're very strange. That was the one thing that threw me off and why I didn't think it was Azure. Like, especially when the bridegroom was hiding under the bed. I feel like she definitely lost a part of her personality and took on Indigo's to hide herself because her wish was to be invisible. So I feel like she granted herself that wish and became Indigo because she couldn't deal with her own life, the things that happened. She wanted to escape it into Indigo's life. And so I think that's why she said, like, what was the line? I thought you were dead. Why can't I kill you, cats? What was it? Catskills? Cat something like that. So it feels like Indigo talking to Azure, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe Azure just like fractured and she has been talking to herself, has been like Indigo talking to Azure and Azure talking to Indigo, and maybe Indigo had taken over the personality. The Indigo personality had taken over, and then by the end, because of the bridegroom and being back in the house and being around Toddy, the Azure personality started to take over. So I don't know, like, do you think she was actually inhabited by part of Indigo's ghost? Or do you think it's more of a trauma response and she fractured her personality or something like that, and now it's kind of come back together and she's able to be herself again with the bridegroom? I don't know, and that's why I feel like it's called The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, because it's Azure almost telling the story of Indigo, kind of as Indigo in the current day. And then once Azure was able to come back to herself, she released Indigo, and Indigo now is gone. And Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this book. I don't think I missed anything. So my rating for this, I feel like talking through it has helped me a lot. It's not a 5. It's not a 5. There was a little too much like really depressing things happening in this book. I feel like there was not a lot of hope in this. I definitely was worried it was going to be a 3 because I thought it was going to be Indigo killing the bridegroom and then basically Indigo wins and Azure was going to be dead. But with the twist of it being Azure and her having a second chance at life, I think it's a 4. I think I'm gonna go a 4 with this book because it really was sad, but I love the mystery. I love the twist of it. I love that it really wasn't magical at all. It was just this like escapism kind of book. I loved that. But there was just a little too much depressive things in there for me. And I feel like it was a little bit more ambiguous than I would have liked at the ending, like about the magic and stuff. I like stuff being explained to me a little bit more. I also feel like this genre is like horror fantasy almost. It's definitely thriller fantasy. I wasn't expecting there to be like thriller mystery stuff going on. This was not what I was expecting from this book, but I really liked that aspect of it. So I think I'm gonna go with a 4. This may adjust as I think about it more because I just finished the book, but my gut reaction is a 4, and I really did enjoy it. I really did enjoy this book. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Make sure you let me know down in the comments below. If you got to the end of this video, leave I guess a flower, any type of flower, or a knife. Depending on what side of the story you liked better, the mythical part or the thriller part. Either works. But yeah, those are my questions that I had in there. I would love for you guys to answer those questions. Let me know what you think. Anything else? I would love to discuss anything else about this book. Obviously, full of spoilers. This was really fun, actually. I feel like I was able to like fully talk about a book and go super in depth with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I really want to hear from you guys. So make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed yet so you catch next month's. Really enjoyed doing this, so I'm really excited for next month. Next month is a lot shorter, which is kind of nice. So maybe we'll do like, well, this isn't even a long book. I kind of like the shorter books because it's easier to talk through them. I'm also liking this thriller idea kind of thing going on. But I don't know. Next month is what is it? House with Good Bones. House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. And then I think the June book, Light just died, so we're just gonna finish this very quickly. Next month is A House of Good Bones, and the month after, I think it's already been basically voted on, so I think you can check what the biggest one of that is, but I'm gonna put out another poll towards the middle of May for July's book, and then I'll come out with an announcement video. You go look in that community, or that post I had that had the percentages. I don't remember what the book is, and I can't look it up right now, because my computer died, which is why my light died, because it's takes its source from there, but I don't remember what it was, but I know it had like an overwhelming number of people voting for that one. So that will be the book, whatever it was. And yeah, that was everything for this video. Like I said, subscribe, like, comment down below all your comments. I would love to hear what you guys think about this book and your thoughts on the questions that I posed, etc. And that's all I got for you guys, so I will see you in the next one.